Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for next week to 10 days. For today's second video, that takes us around the 20th of September, so we're going into the second half of the month, definitely now, with a week to 10 day video update time frame. We will be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and E7 ensembles running to around a couple of weeks. Have a look at CFSV2 as always, of course, at the end of the video, and that will take us into the early part of October. The ECMWF 30-day look ahead has been released. That also gets us to the early part of October. Looks like going to be a lot of high pressure around across not only the UK but much of Europe for the rest of September. So a lot of dry and pretty warm weather coming up during mid-September. Have a look at that, see what's going on. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to say a big thank you to our latest PayPal donor. So a big thank you to Richard Fowler. Rich F in the comments at Gazzo's YouTube channel has become our latest PayPal donor. So big thank you to Richard for doing that. Now, if you would like to become a PayPal donor, like Richard has done, we need to come to Gazzo's PayPal page and sign into your PayPal account, and then you can give a donation to Gazzo's. Be anything, any amount of money that you would like, and by doing that, you're going to get a mention in videos. We'll give you a shout out, and we'll say thank you so much for doing that. You might want to mention for your website or for your business. We've done that for a few people, so I'm always happy to do that. Go off to your website or whatnot, and give a little plug to that. So it is however you would want the mention, the shout out. We're very happy to do that for you. You might want to stay anonymous as well. A few people have chosen to do that also, and that's absolutely fine. However you want mention, just leave a little message with your donation. So big thank you to Richard Fowler for becoming our latest PayPal donor. Also going to say thank you to our 61 patrons. So again, thank you so much to our 62 patrons. Thank you so much to all of you. If you'd like to become a patron of Gazzo's, all you need to do, come to the Gazzo's Patreon page, sign up for a Patreon account, assuming you don't already have one, and then you can pledge an ongoing monthly donation. It can be anything from $1 a month upwards to Gazzo's, and by doing that, you become a patron for Gazzo's. And again, you're helping us to pay the website, helping us to keep content online. So again, thank you so much to all of our patrons. Thank you so much to all of our PayPal donors. And a special thank you to Richard Fowler for becoming our latest PayPal donor. Thank you so much, Richard, for doing that. Right, let's get on with the update then, and we're going to start off by having a look at what's going on in the tropical Atlantic, as usual, at this time of the year. So we've got 4 interest areas. So let's deal with Gabrielle first of all. This tropical storm, Gabrielle, a long way north in the Atlantic, north of the Azores now, this tropical storm. You won't think it could sustain itself that far north for all that long. Let's see what they're forecasting with Gabrielle. So at any point now, this is going to go post-tropical. So that's the current position of Gabrielle, tropical storm Gabrielle just there. Really, at any point, it might already have happened by the time you watch this video, but at any point today, this is going to go post-tropical. And then this post-tropical storm as an area of low pressure will head up towards Ireland as we get through to Thursday. So we'll have a post-tropical depression from Gabrielle sitting just to west of Ireland at 2 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, if the forecast from the National Hurricane Centre is correct. And then that's going to just be an area of low pressure. It will sort of graze to the north and west, head off up to the northwest of the country, and that will be the end of what is currently Tropical Storm Gabrielle. Right, let's have a look at these areas of interest. They've got 3 yellow X's. So, deal with this one. First of all, that one is disturbance 2 with a 0% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. National Hurricane Centre are saying shower activity associated with a service trough interacting with an upper level low near the north coast of Hispaniola, northeastward over the southwestern Atlantic, has increased a little since yesterday. Has increased a little since yesterday. Okay, so little, if any, development of this disturbance is expected during the next few days while it moves west-northwestwards across the Bahamas and the Florida Peninsula. However, environmental conditions could become a little more conducive for development when the system moves into the Gulf of Mexico over the weekend. Regardless of development, this disturbance will produce periods of locally heavy rain across the Bahamas through Thursday and across Florida on Friday and continuing into the weekend. So it looks like disturbance 2 is probably going to do something a bit like that. And when it gets into the Gulf of Mexico around here, that's when it might develop into more of a system next week. We'll have to wait and see on that one. We've got this yellow X just here. So that's disturbance 1 with a 20% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. They're saying with this one, a weak area of low pressure associated with a tropical wave located a little more than 900 miles east of the Lesser Antilles is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Although some slight development of this system is possible today or tomorrow, by Thursday, upper level winds are forecast to become unfavourable for tropical cyclone formation. This disturbance is expected to move slowly westward across the tropical Atlantic Ocean for the next several days. So we're not going to have, it's a 20% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours and a 20% chance in the next 5 days. The only thing to say about that one is it's not going away. So although in the next 5 days it's not going to do anything, it looks like this disturbance area will continue to move in that sort of direction. And while it's around, then it needs keeping a close eye on. And then finally, we've got this yellow X just here coming out of Africa. So that one is disturbance free with a 0% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. They're saying a tropical wave located just off the west coast of Africa is expected to move quickly westward over the next several days. Some slow development is possible late this week and over weekend when the system is several hundred miles east of the Lesser Antilles. In the next 2 days, 0% chance of cyclone formation, just a 20% chance in the next 5 days. Again, that will need to keep, they'll need to keep an eye on that. It's going to go in that sort of direction. That one's going in that sort of direction. And this, of course, is going to go a little bit like that. So they need to keep close on all of those disturbance areas, and they will do so. Obviously, if things start to develop with them, then we'll hear about it in due course. But at the moment, it doesn't look like any of these are going to develop into tropical storms within the next 5 days anyway. Right, this is the Arctic Oscillation Observed and Forecast chart. So the black line here shows where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation. Red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. Remember, this is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. It's not driving anything in its own terms, just telling you what the atmosphere is doing. When the AO is in its negative phase, as it has been throughout the whole of the summer, really, then you've got high pressure up over the pole, you've got blocking over the North Pole, and in winter, blocking will be the route to getting cold air out of the pole and down into the mid-latitudes. In summer, blocking will tend to produce quite cool, unsettled conditions, although we have had quite a warm summer, despite the fact we've had considerable levels of northern blocking. Now, where we are right now is just weakly positive. We're just there. And the GFS ensembles are forecast that for the next week, we're going to see the AO staying in positive territory. However, as we move into the second half of September, we are seeing signs that the Arctic Oscillation might be starting to trend negative there. That's in the extended range of the GFS ensembles. But we see that indication that the Arctic Oscillation might be about to move downwards in towards negative territory in the second half of September. If that's true, then we will probably see a re-emergence of high pressure over the northern latitudes, particularly perhaps focused around Greenland. That could be a signal for things to turn a little cooler as we get through into the second half of September, if we begin to move high pressure up towards Greenland. This is the NAO observed and forecast chart. So again, black line shows where we've been with the NAO, red lines at the end, where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the NAO to go. As we know, the NAO has been in a prolonged negative phase, right way for around the third week of April up to at least the middle of August, the NAO was negative. Through the second half of August, though, it trended into positive territory, and that's where we are right now, weekly positive with the NAO. GFS ensembles are forecasting that over next week the NAO will stay positive, probably go a little bit more positive than it is right now. Actually, this is an indication of high pressure to be strengthening through the Azores and low pressure to be around Iceland. So a positive NAO is the default setup for the UK and the North Atlantic. Particularly so in winter, of course, giving us our prevailing mild southwesterlies. As we go into the extended range into the second half of September, we do see some of these GFS ensemble members moving down into more negative territory with the NAO forecast. By no means all of them doing that. We've got many of them up here that are keeping things positive, but there are a few that are going into negative territory. I think the evidence to send the AO negative is better than the NAO, so it does look as though there's fairly good agreement within the GFS ensembles for the Arctic Oscillation to become negative. Much more uncertain with the NAO. After such a prolonged negative phase of the NAO, going positive since the second half of August, I would have thought that's got longer to run, really, that positive phase of the NAO. Of course, you can never rule anything out, but I reckon now the NAO is back positive after that long run from May to the middle of August of negativity. I would have thought it probably got another month or so at least a positive NAO condition to go, maybe more than that actually. So I'll be surprised if the NAO was to go negative in the second half of September, but we shall see. We'll keep a close eye on it, and definitely it looks like the AO, there is better agreement, I think, there that could go negative into the second half of September with a re-emergence of high pressure over the northern latitudes perhaps. Right, so these are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. Let's go to weeks looking at Northampton today. So red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Northampton. And going to be a bit up and down with temperatures over the next few days. So we're slightly cooler than average at the moment. We're going to go warm and average for 2 or 3 days through the middle of the second half of the week. Then a bit cooler again into the weekend. Then it warms up big time as we go later into the weekend and through to the start of next week. I think we could see temperatures in London, for example, by Sunday and Monday pushing up to around 25, that's 77 Fahrenheit. After that, we've got to drop back towards average as we go further in towards next week, and then quite a bit of scatter. Most of these GFS ensemble members through to the final week of September are in fact keeping things warmer than average, keeping the upper air temperatures above average. We do have these colder runs just here. They are mainly outliers, although there's perhaps few too many of them to call them outliers, but they're certainly not well supported, let's put it that way. The vast majority of the GFS ensemble members want to keep things above average with the temperatures going right way through to late September, and very dry too. There's no sign of this dry weather breaking. A complete lack of precipitation spikes there, really. There are 1 or 2 coming and going, but I mean they're very insignificant and trivial. Generally, this looks like it's going to be a warm and dry September for the next week, probably next 10 days, maybe even next couple of weeks, with the chance of something a bit cooler coming in from the north, but only a low chance that that could happen. High and dry, ruling the roost for the next week or probably more. Temperature anomalies from the 10th to the 18th of September, close to average, maybe a little bit below, especially the northern parts of the country. You might be surprised at that, given the ensemble we're just looking at. This is based on the midnight run of the GFS, and that was actually quite a coldish run. I'll show it in a moment. Precipitation anomalies, look at that, very, very dry from the 10th to the 18th of September. Really, really dry, especially for England and Wales. So this is that midnight run of the GFS. High pressure building and strengthening at the end of the week. This high pressure takes us into weekend, bringing loads of dry, fine conditions. Temperatures could well be pushing up to the mid-20s in the southeast, particularly somewhere like central London on Sunday afternoon. Now, as we go into next week, the midnight run of the GFS pulls that high pressure out into the Atlantic and moves it north with a trough sinking down through Scandinavia that starts to pull the wind in from a northerly direction, and that's how we look, or that's how we looked on the midnight run of the GFS. By the middle of next week, high pressure is sitting just to our west. Low pressure is a big trough is over Scandinavia. We're pulling in these really quite chilly northern winds. I'll show you upper air temperature. You can see they are quite cool, actually, for the middle of September. You will probably be talking about night frost with that. Certainly, the Scotland ground frost could be seen even down into southern parts of England. And a distinctly chilly feel. Now, that high pressure then moves back in across the country, so the high itself is going nowhere fast. It's just changing its position slightly. That's day 10, well and truly under high pressure conditions too. In more extended range, high pressure gradually got broken down by the midnight run of the GFS, and it all starts to look rather more unsettled. Although even at the very end of it, which gets us to Thursday, the 26th of September, we're still more or less clinging on to this high pressure across southern parts of England. It is just about clinging on for dear life, but it looks like it's gradually getting itself into more unsettled phase. Notice this low just here, that will be the remains of some sort of tropical storm or hurricane. So quite a coldish run for next week from the midnight GFS run. However, the 6 o'clock run, and you'll have figured it out from that GFS ensemble we looked at a few minutes ago, the 6 o'clock run of the GFS is a lot warmer. So this is how things looking on Friday. High pressure again building in and strengthening across the country. High pressure in control for the weekend away from Scotland. Anyway, it's going to be a dry, fine and potentially very warm weekend coming up. Into next week, the 6 o'clock run did take that high pressure out to west, or it tried to, but it didn't quite come off. We still have the trough of low pressure sinking through Scandinavia, so we've still got a trough up here. But we're not quite moving that high pressure out to the north and west as we did on the midnight run with the 6 o'clock run. And so instead what happens is that high pressure sticks around the country through next week, and in that scenario, the coolest of the air is actually just giving us a glancing blow down the North Sea. And it's mainly affecting northern and eastern parts of Europe, or northern and northeastern parts of Europe. We're still relatively warm with this ridge of high pressure. Just doesn't pull out quite far enough west to allow the cool air to dig in from the north. Then up to day 10, high pressure continues to be dominating the weather, 1,030 millibars there across most parts of England and Wales. That keeps us dry, fine, and I would have thought pretty warm too. I do wonder, the way these charts are shaping up, whether some places might have an entire calendar month without any rain down across the south and the southeast of England. It would be quite remarkable to do that, but it can happen. And September is a month where that is more likely to happen when high pressure gets going. So have to wait and see, but we could actually be seeing a technical drought here with this continuing domination of high pressure right the way through to month's end. Because look at this, we get to the end of the GFS run, which gets us to Thursday 26th of September, and although low pressure is trying to get going in the Atlantic, really we're still under a ridge even then, particularly for eastern parts of the country. We're still seeing this high pressure pretty much in control even up to the very end of the GFS run on the 26th of September. And then of course we've got the GEM, so again same story, high pressure building and strengthening as we go through the weekend, coming to dominate weather and putting up some pretty warm air from the south and southeast as well. Into next week, the high pressure is going nowhere fast. It's trying to turn and settle in the north, but there's no real breakdown of this ridge. So up to day 10, the GEM has high pressure conditions all the way. That's the ECM. Again, the ridge is building and strengthening over the country through the weekend, and that high pressure is going nowhere fast into next week. It's not pulling out to our west like the midnight GFS run did either. It's just keeping that high pressure centrally located over the country, which implies just a continuation of dry, fine conditions, potentially very warm by day. Nights could be a little bit chilly, maybe some mist and fog patches getting going by night. We are moving now into second half of September, so really getting on in towards what is proper autumn. So, I mean, daytimes could be into low 20s with that, but nights could be a bit chilly and we might see some mist and fog. But the main message is very, very dry conditions continuing all the way up to day 10. And there's no real sign how we get out of that very quickly. So the central pressure is kind of like 1,030 to 1,025 millibars. That's not going to break down particularly quickly. So you would expect those anticyclonic conditions to carry on for several days beyond that, I would have thought. Based on that, so it does look as though high pressure going nowhere fast. It's going to get stronger, in fact, over the coming days. These are the options we've got on the table within the ECM ensembles today for day 10. It's virtually a 50-50 split, just in the exact position of the ridge. So you have 27 members of the ECM ensembles, including the operational run that has the ridge at day 10, pretty much over the top of the country. So obviously that's going to be a very, very dry scenario, and we would expect warm temperatures with that too. There's another 24 just here that have a ridge just a little bit to our west-southwest, but trough over Scandinavia is closer to us. It's still anticyclonic, but it could be a little bit cooler with those. Not as much, I wouldn't have thought, as the midnight run of the GFS, but a little bit cooler with those. That the position of that ridge just to the west of Ireland, centred just west of Ireland, just possibly allows something a bit cooler to get in from the north. But overall, this is a very dry signal, anticyclonic signal, up to day 10. We're just differing very slightly, those ensemble members, in the exact position of the ridge. As you get to 2 weeks' time, it's taking us towards the end of September. This is the 25th of September. Signs then that the high pressure is pulling back further into the middle of the Atlantic. I think we could be starting to move the high pressure then into the middle of the Atlantic, possibly starting to bring more influence in from the jet stream, aligning things northwest to southeast. That could imply that things are starting to break down by the time you get to 2 weeks later. But this is 2 weeks late. It's 360 hours. It's the 25th of September. It's only the 10th of September today. So it's way, way too far away to have any sort of confidence in it. Of course, the high pressure will have to break down at some point. But, I mean, from the 10th to 25th of September, that is too far away to have any confidence that that's what's going to happen. Finally, CFSV2 for next month. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down into 10-day periods. The first 10-day period takes us from the 10th to the 16th of September, the coming week. High pressure all the way, dominating across most parts of the country and most parts of Europe as well. Low pressure is up to our north. The jet stream is up there. So it could be a little bit more unsettled for Scotland, but the majority of the country will be dry and fine. Week 2 looks like that. It's the 17th to the 23rd of September. Just moving that ridge a little bit further to the west, allowing low pressure to sink through Scandinavia. So that possibly cools things down a bit anyway. That will possibly bring in some cooler air from the north, and certainly from northern parts of the country and maybe down the east coast could be a little bit showering. It's not an unsettled scenario by any means, because high pressure is in control of the weather, and it's blocking off the Atlantic, so there's no sort of low pressure rain bearing systems coming in off the Atlantic Ocean. Just could be a little bit showery via that trough over Scandinavia and a little bit cooler, but I would expect most places actually still to stay dry. And then the high pressure comes back in over country in week 3. This is the 24th of September to the 30th. If this is right, this is going to be a remarkably dry September, and as I said, we could be talking about true technical drought here for some places, with some places getting virtually no rain throughout the entire month. So high pressure centred over the top of the country, with that right way through to the end of September. Signs of a change in week 4. This is the 1st to the 7th of October. It was showing up as well a little bit with the ECMWF look ahead. Week 4 possibly turns a bit more unsettled. Notice the above average heights then begin to move out into the middle of the Atlantic, but also down towards Spain. There's a trough of low pressure across eastern parts of Europe, so it's quite unsettled there. There's a bit of low pressure around Greenland. That could just be an indication that very gradually we start to get a bit more influence from the jet stream. Might be starting to turn, let's say, showery rather than unsettled, but it may be starting to turn a little bit more interesting. But of course, again, that's 4 weeks away, so it is extremely unreliable. And within the reliable time frame, which is the next week to 10 days, it's high pressure all the way, really. The only question is exactly where is that high pressure sitting? Does it pull to the west slightly and allow some cooler air to dig in from the north next week, or will it stay centred over top of the country? I have to say the chances of pulling cool air in from the north next week look quite slim. Looks like that's going to mainly affect Scandinavia and northeastern parts of Europe, and we will stay with that ridge centred over top of the country. If that is true, if that's right, then that gets us to very dry conditions to around 10 days' time. As I said, we could be shaping up for a remarkably dry September here. Right, so that's it for your videos for today. We're back to our 5D forecast. Another week's 10-day video update coming up tomorrow as well. Don't forget to check out the ECMWF 30-day look ahead. And that's all for now, though. Thanks for watching.